Welcome to the Brave Women at Work podcast. This is your host, Jen Pastikas. I'm so glad you're here. With the Brave Women at Work podcast, you'll get the resources and tips along with real-world stories and humor to empower and inspire you to take bolder and braver actions in your career and life. Welcome to the Brave Women at Work podcast. This is your host, Jen Pastikas. I'm so glad you're here. Well, hey everyone, how are you doing out there? So here's a fact. For many years, I didn't know that our money mindset has a direct relationship with how powerful we feel and how we move through our professional and personal lives. True story. I completely had them segregated, had no idea. And I didn't get that connection. And I have been in financial services for over 25 years. And so after I dove into all things on leadership, self-improvement, and energetic management, especially after 2019, I learned that there's a positive correlation between our money, speaking up, and the energy associated with feeling powerful as a woman. So if we feel good about our money, as a result, we were going to speak up more. We will feel more confident. We will make powerful choices. And of course, we will be braver at work and at home. So my guest today, Asia Evans, is the first financial therapist I have ever interviewed. I've interviewed financial coaches before, but not a financial therapist. So when I met Asia, I was super intrigued. And so after learning more about Asia's important work, I was excited to dive into our conversation. So during my discussion with Asia, we chatted about her financial awakening, what financial therapy is, and how it is different than financial coaching, what the thoughts, feelings, and attitudes are behind someone who may need a financial awakening of their own, what the story is behind people that are trying to keep up with the Joneses. What does that even mean? What about money hoarders? That's where I was. I was like kind of hoarding and kind of being a squirrel away for the winter. What is the story behind that tendency? Her book, Feel Good Finance, Untangling Your Relationship with Money for Better Mental, Emotional, and Financial Well-Being. So we dove into that, and she gave us a nice kind of overarching kind of arc of what the book is about. She also provides us an overview of her freebie to her guide to getting financially naked. So when I saw that, I was like, yes, we need to absolutely talk about that too. So here is more about Asia. Asia Evans, author of Feel Good Finance, Untangle Your Relationship with Money for Better Mental, Emotional, and Financial Well-Being, is a board-certified therapist, consultant, and speaker specializing in financial therapy. With over a decade of experience in mental health and the intimate understanding that people feel bad about their money, Asia made it a pillar in her work to help others feel supported in their financial journeys. Asia is committed to assisting people in navigating the intersection of mental health and all things money. In addition to her clinical practice, Asia is a consultant to fintech companies looking to integrate the emotional side of money. She has been quoted in major news outlets such as the New York Times, Bloomberg, The Washington Post, The Wall Street Journal, Teen Vogue, CNBC, and NerdWallet. Coined as the feel-good financial therapist, Asia is on a mission to get more people engaged in living their best lives while tuning to their thoughts, feelings, and behaviors around money. When she isn't encouraging people to talk openly about their emotions and money, she is running around after two young children or looking into their next delicious place to eat. Yum. Yes, for all of our foodies out there, you've got someone else that loves that too. So if Brave Woman at Work and our podcast has helped you personally or professionally, please be sure to share it with a friend, family member, or colleague. And as you know, the ratings and reviews of the show, they really matter, and they help the show continue to get in the hands of more women or people who are just listening to this podcast. So if you have already left a rating and review, I thank you so much. And then if you haven't downloaded my freebies from my website, check them out at bravewomenatwork.com. So the three are 24 career and leadership affirmations, 5 ways to managing your imposter syndrome, or basically that lack of confidence that we all feel when we level up or have some sort of a professional challenge. And most popular, getting paid 10 negotiation tips. Because, like Asia, I am really, really passionate about helping you get paid. Each of these freebies are workbook style guides, so you can complete them at your own time, and there's plenty of spaces for notes. One last announcement. You may have heard if you're a longtime listener, but I am asking you to invest in yourself and attend the Thrive in 2025 conference right here in my backyard in Chicagoland from June 25th to 28th. I am co hosting that event with my colleague, Hope Mueller of Climb Conferences. And I will say this is different than any other conference that I've ever attended or, of course, co hosted. It is a 12-month experience after the 2.5 days of regular conference programming. So, after the conference, you're going to get 6 months of coaching, accountability coaching with yours truly in the Brave Circle, a 12-month membership to her C Suite, which is a powerful women's networking platform, and a 12-month membership to Innovation Women, which is a female led speakers bureau. I have never been to a conference like this. And so I welcome you again to check it out, to register at thrive in 25. So the number's 25.com. Again, thrive, THRIVE dash in the number's 25.com. Okay, let's welcome Asia to the show. Well, hello, Asia. Welcome to Brave Woman at Work. How are you today?
I'm good. So excited to be here and to chat and dive in.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. I am really excited about this too. So I always ask my guests, tell me all the things about you. You can start wherever you want. I'd like to hear a little bit about the background story and how you've gotten to where you are today.
Sure. So I'm like my intro, right? Like, who are you? What's going on?
Yeah.
I am a financial therapist. I am an author. I of my book that just came out at last year, which feels strange because it doesn't feel that long ago. Feel Good Finance. And
Hmm.
I really specialize in how we think, feel, behave with our money. I have been a therapist for about 15 years and only got really interested in money stuff for myself personally about 8 or 10 years ago, and then realized how important it was for these conversations to be had in a therapeutic setting, in my office, in one-on-one therapy, sometimes in couples therapy as well. So it just kind of really blossoms from there. And that's where I found financial therapy. And I was trying to figure out, like, why aren't people talking about money more often? And it comes up so frequently with my clients. And I feel feelings about money and who's doing this and what does it look like? And that's when I came across the Financial Therapy Association, which I got involved in. And now
Mm.
I am president of the board for 2025, which is very, very exciting. And yeah, I'm a mom. I'm a good friend, I like to think, a good wife.
You're all the things. So, okay, so I have talked finance before on Brave Women at Work, but I've had a couple financial coaches, but I've never had someone that specializes in financial therapy. And I wanted to know if you could maybe define, I think they might be related but different. I don't know. So you tell me what is the definition of financial therapy and what's the difference between financial therapy and financial coaching?
Yeah. So financial therapy, the definition is really helping our clients understand how they think, feel, and behave around their relationship with money. So
Okay.
the work that I'm doing with my clients is sometimes diving into some of their traumatic past when it comes to
Mm,
money, experiences that they've lived through, things that they've seen and didn't realize had an impact on what they do with their money today, and how do they navigate, contain, hold some of those emotions that come up, as well as diving into just like our life experience and what does that influence for you today. So a lot of my clients are either working through what it means to make more money than their parents. What do they do if they make more or less money than their friends? How do you start having these conversations? Couples who are navigating either coming into, the early years of their marriage, and how do they combine finances or don't combine finances or
mm.
negotiate a prenup? All of these kind of conversations that we tend to have in secret and don't really talk about, but have feelings about. That's what I'm sitting with my clients doing. And I think the difference with coaching is because they do talk about a lot of these things, they do come up. I'm certain feelings are coming up with coaches, but they are really there helping them be accountable for what their
Mm,
goals are and setting some of those goals and holding emotions definitely, but I'm treating the emotions. I
okay.
am going through like, okay, you're anxious. What does that look like? Where do you feel it in your body? What are we doing about it? And really, diving into some of those places that feel really difficult.
Okay, that helps me. So, like, a coach is going to do the accountability, maybe like help you move forward with the goal. Whereas, like, you're going back a little bit and saying, like, what is underlying maybe the pattern here? And
Yeah.
let's treat the emotion or the history there to maybe repair it, right?
Yeah.
Repair it moving forward. Is that fair?
Yeah, definitely fair. And even if it's not repair, it can just be understand that it's present and how do you
Mm.
heal in a way that you're not going to be the same, right? I think a lot of people want to be like, "Hey, I'm either shoving this down inside of me and forgetting it even exists."
I've done
Or
that. I've done that. Doesn't work.
right?
Doesn't
It
work.
doesn't work. It doesn't work. Tell everybody it does not work. So a lot of times, like you can put a broken vase back together, but it's going to still have some cracks, and it's okay that you have some cracks still. You can still live a beautiful, healthy, happy financial life and life in general, but cracks are sometimes what make us who we are, and that's okay that they're there.
Okay, so I've got to bring this up, and then I want to hear about your financial awakening because there's
Hmm.
got to be a story underneath there.
Oh, yes.
But you said the cracks, right? And I've done presentations on this, but I have to bring it in. I've mentioned it before, is the Japanese art of kintsugi, right? Where you put the broken dishes, and there are these artists, I think it is Japan, where they put them together and they fuse them, and in between the cracks is gold. And so if you've never seen that, go and look up Google kintsugi, and these bowls and these pieces are gorgeous. So
Stunning.
what was broken can actually be stronger on the other side. And I think that also applies to money, don't you, Asia?
100%.
Oh, good. Okay, so why don't you tell me? Because I don't think you just like randomly go. There's a reason that you have a passion for this, right? Or this particular line of work. So talk to us, whatever you feel comfortable with about maybe your money story and if you had a financial awakening. And I'm assuming that also propelled you to this work.
Yeah, so my financial awakening definitely propelled me into this work and kind of was this aha moment for me, especially at that time I was a therapist already and I had been working in mental health, but I was living in New York City.
Hmm.
I was in my mid to late 20s and it really was coming from me feeling bad when I couldn't keep up with my friends. It felt bad when I was like, why does everybody have money to do this? And this is go to brunch, go shopping, go to dinner, then go out for drinks, go home, take a shower, and then like go out for the night. And that is a lot of money if
Yeah.
you were just kind of, opening your wallet and swiping your card on a hope and a prayer, hoping that like it's not gonna, bounce or get declined or overdraft your account. And when I realized, I was like, why I feel so bad. It felt like it was hurting my self-esteem. I was like, I am not the only person going through this. So I dove in to personal finance and couldn't at that time, personal financial education information and content wasn't as readily available as it is now, but I was on different blogs. I was searching through different like websites in general just to find more information to learn, reading a ton of books. And at that time, I was like, well, maybe I want to change my career. Do I want to be a certified financial planner? I really like this
Mm,
money aspect. I'm very interested in it. And I realized that that was a little bit too far into the other side that I was willing to go. I still wanted to sit there with the feelings and um,
mm,
hold them and contain them and help people understand where that was coming from. Being a therapist is very much so a part of who I am as a person. So I've just always been interested in this work. So moving into financial therapy was like, oh my goodness, I found the niche. So a lot of times when you're a therapist, they tell you to niche down into a specialty, and I had no desire. I was like, there's nothing I feel so lit up about. I
mm.
like this, but I don't feel as connected. But financial therapy, I was like, oh, this is it.
Mm.
This is the thing that I've been waiting for that I didn't realize I was waiting for. So it definitely came by my own personal experience and putting myself out there to say, like, no, people are going through this. People are feeling weird about their money. And there are other people who are doing this and talking about it and researching it as well.
The other thing that I've seen on other podcasts, would love your thoughts on this, is the relationship between how you feel about your money or your finances and power. So
Mhm.
there's like relationships. Money is very, very powerful in of itself, and it really creates these like tentacles of like how we relate to other people, how we relate to ourselves, how we relate to the idea of power. So any like this is a big question, but any overarching, commentary around how money does that and creates all of these connections or breaks in our life.
Yeah, well, I think it's not the money, it's humans, right?
It's
Like,
true.
it's how we as people relate to these certain things. And particularly or not in our country, in the United States, and in a lot of other countries too, but I'm going to focus here because this is where home is for me. We really do connect money with power, and it is very powerful. Money can be very, very powerful in a lot of different situations. But what we have done is assign a level of value to the person depending upon how much money they have, how little money they have, as if you're a better person or smarter or should be warranted more respect because you have XYZ amount of money. And it doesn't
Mm,
actually matter for some people how people got that money. We don't always know how somebody got that money. And it's not to say that that means, oh, you need to work really hard for your money, or it's less important if it came to you through generational wealth. It's just to say that humans have found a way to create a social hierarchy around how much money somebody has or doesn't have. And sometimes that looks like wealth signifiers to say, hey, my materialistic things, I'm driving this car, my house looks like this, or I'm wearing these clothes, means I am insert adjective here. And what I try to really encourage people to think about is that it really doesn't matter how much money you have, you can still be dealing with some of these problems. You could be a
mm,
millionaire and still be sitting in my office worried that one day it's all going to go away because you grew up in poverty. You could
mm,
be the happiest person in the world having grown up in poverty and feeling like you have everything that you need, but somebody else in that position would never be able to make it or feel the same way. So I think what we try to do so frequently is push the emotional side of money away and pretend that, everything's going to be fine if I make an extra $100,000 this year. If I got to six figures, my life would be great. I'm like, no, people have problems. It doesn't matter how much money you do or don't have. Rich people have problems too, the same way. So I think we have just assigned a lot of power to money, probably more so than it deserves, honestly.
That is interesting because they say, what is that cliche? Like more money, more problems, right?
Yeah.
Like, and
Yeah.
it's true because when you don't have money, you're like, oh man, when I make the money, I'll feel better. But then when you have the money, and again, everyone, I am not like, a millionaire, a gajillionaire. I'm not like some celebrity. I'm just saying I know people that have money, but then they're like, okay, well, how do I use the money the right way? How do I give the money in the right places? Like, how do like relationships? You see lottery winners, like their relationships change, right? And then it's a fact you probably even know, not to put you on the spot if you don't, but lottery winners often squander the money because they weren't probably mentally and emotionally prepared to have the money.
Right.
And then they're giving it to the wrong places, the planning, and there's stress in that. So I think there is stress on both ends of the spectrum, and it's trying to find that neutral middle ground.
Right, exactly. And also too, like if you've never had to manage a ton of money at one time, it can be really easy to want to spend that money because you've never had the money and forget that it is going to run out. Like you have to grow it and that then put yourself in a position where, you're not spending as much as you have, but it I think people really have a hard time because money does fix a lot of problems. It does.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um and that can change somebody's life for the better. And you could be very happy, but I want to caution people to assume that it's going to fix all of your problems. And because you have all this money, you're going to be happy and nothing's ever going to harm you. I'm like, no, life is hard because we're human beings and it's just hard.
Yeah, no, it is just hard. So I know I'm putting a broad brush again on this question, but Are there kind of like typology, like types, or you see a lot of, especially with women, right? This podcast serves women, right? And a lot of and probably all people, but mainly women. So are there any particular thoughts or feelings or attitudes or patterns that you're like, hey, everybody listening, you may be in one of these areas or these buckets, right? So an example is when I've had to learn really hard. I've worked really hard at this, Asia, for example. I was and still deal with scarcity mentality. So
Mhm.
I'm always like, I don't have enough. I got to put more away. So for a while, it was like I was like hoarding money, like where I never wanted to spend any money. Like I would tell people, which is, it's kind of like some people love this, but it made me feel icky. So for example, someone would be like, oh, I really like your sweater. Oh, I got it for like 5.99 on the TJ Maxx like super sale. Like it, why do I have to have all of that like filler? It's
Mhm.
because those are my sentiments about money or scarcity or whatever coming out. And so
Mhm.
I'm just wondering for women listening, they're like, well, I don't like what are the common patterns or where
Mhm.
might I fit? So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I'll tell you because I wrote a lot of them in my book.
Okay, let's
So
go.
there's a whole chapter to people who hoard money. It's literally called Money Hoarder, about how it feels to worry about the scarcity and feel like you're not going to have enough and want that security and want that stability and want to see a number specifically in your account and where that might come from and what happens and what you can do. So but what I will take from money hoarder and kind of shift into one of the big things that I definitely see with women is that they're scared or worried to make any kind of money move because they feel like they don't have enough information. They
Mm,
feel like they need to be the highest of high experts in all things financial investing to put money into a retirement account to say that they're investing. If you have a 401k and it is invested, guess what? You are investing. That's it. And I think a lot of people want it to feel so complicated, and it doesn't need to feel that way. But a lot of women feel like they can't get involved because they don't know enough. So, feeling like you don't have enough of a financial education to involve yourself in
mm,
certain money moves definitely comes up. Another one that is very big that I see with my female clients is avoiding their money. So
mm,
they may not be looking at their bank accounts or checking what their credit card statements are, or just kind of being on top of their finances in general, whether somebody else is handling them or they're on their own and they're just like, I'm not looking. And avoiding your money can really be detrimental for many, many, many reasons. And it is especially detrimental in a couple because women outlive men. And if you're in a heterosexual marriage, that's going to be really important for you because you may find yourself in a position, unfortunately, where your spouse is not able to handle the financials of your life. And you need to know where the money is. You need to be able to move it to make sure that you're okay. So, there's like levels to it in depth, right? So money hoarding, avoiding your money, feeling like you don't have enough personal financial education. And then I would say thinking that it has to be secret and not talking to anybody about it.
mm,
So if you're stressed about your money, not talking to your friends, if you are looking to negotiate, not having conversations about what the going rate or the market rate is for the job you're looking at, or did everybody get a raise and I didn't get one because I didn't ask? Have these conversations. I cannot stress it enough. Please talk about money with people you feel comfortable and can trust, to have an open conversation with.
those are so good. Okay, so I'm hearing not enough, they feel, women feel on the whole, not enough financial education when you've just said, hey, if you have a 401k, you are investing, and again, I'm not recommending anything, but many 401ks have age-based portfolios. So even if you are still learning, it's like, it's right there. It's set it and forget it. I'm going to retire in X years, and it gives you the allocation you need based on your age and the time to retirement. And then you have the avoiding your money, and then you have the seek. This one's interesting because I think this is generational. I don't know, Asia, about your side, but I was always said it's so rude to talk about money. Like you don't talk about your salary with other people, all this kind of stuff. But you qualified it as I'm not going to go around the water cooler and tell every person around the water cooler, like, hey, this is what I make. I mean, you're not
Yeah.
going to do that. But if
Mm-mm.
you have your own, maybe friends outside, or you have your spouse or partner, like, of course you can have those conversations. So you're just saying making sure that you're telling people you trust or talking about money with people you trust.
Yes, and that's why the caveat is there, right? So you don't need to just spread it around to anybody who's going to listen. I want you to have intentional conversations. And a perfect example of this is um, at a job that I am no longer at a long time ago at this point. It's been a long time. 2 jobs ago, we'll say. One of my friends, she was my work bestie. We would talk about money, and it started off slowly. It was kind of like, hey, we were getting married around the same time. How are you saving for your wedding? What are you doing? How much did it cost? What did it look like? To talking about student loans. How are you paying off your debt? What does that look like? We both have master's degrees. To, hey, we talk about money so frequently. Let's talk about salaries. Let's talk about raises. And she said to me, she's like, Asia, I know that you negotiated your salary and I know you make more than me because I did not. And she told me, and I was like, You're right. I do make more than you because I did ask. I negotiated and talked about it. And that was a lesson for me in, oh, girl, you better keep negotiating when you have these moments. And also a lesson for her to, we're doing the same exact job.
So sad,
And
but
the
good for you.
only reason, right? The only reason she didn't make what I was making, and it wasn't astronomical, but she could have been making more. And it was because she just didn't ask. And that was a big lesson. So talk about money.
Okay, so with that, we'll veer off for a minute and come
Yeah.
back. So everybody, that is a really good example. And like what we stand for, a brave woman at work, like speak up, right? Speak your truth, ask for what you want. Like that's a big foundation of one of the foundations of being a brave woman at work is ask. And like you said, talk about money. So what's interesting is I have some clients, non-named, but they get frustrated because they're like, why should I always have to be fighting? Why should I always have to be advocating for myself? Why don't they just pay me what I'm worth?
Mhm.
And I want your opinion on this, Asia. I'll jump in and then I want to hear from you. My, this is how I relate. Like you and the company are playing a game of poker, right? And like you have your hand and the company has their hand. The company's got to do what's in the best interest of the company, and you have to do what's in your best interest, right? So if you lay your hand down and say, like, look, I'm going to advocate for myself, I need it, this is not right, whatever, versus just folding, right? Like in my mind, not speaking up is like kind of folding. I mean, like you win, company versus like you speak up and go like, hey, here it is, this is what I'm worth, like I've got a straight flush or whatever. I'm not a poker player, but you know what I mean, like I'm worth it, here you go, like take it or leave it, right? Or pay up, basically give me the chips.
Yep.
And the company can say yes or no and walk away, but I don't think that we can put our power in the hand of the company and expect them to always do right by us because it's not their job to do so. What do you think?
I completely agree with you. And I also think all I keep thinking about are these historical stats around women. We could not have bank accounts until the 60s, 1960s. Women could not have a bank account by themselves without a man attached to it. We
That's
could
so
not have,
sad.
right? Like we did not have access to credit. You couldn't get a mortgage. You couldn't get a business loan. You couldn't have a credit card per se until 1974. I know this sounds so long ago for certain people, but that's like my mom. And that might be somebody else, like as a human being, if you were born in that time. So I think we forget how recent that history is, that women were not allowed to make their own money in these ways or grow their own wealth in these ways. And so it cannot be lost on us that a lot of women have been socialized not to ask. And then I think we can enter in your point of it is up to the company to make sure the company is surviving, right? They can't pay everyone the best salary that all of their employees may want because they need to make sure that they're okay. It is truly up to us to ask. It is up to us to know what our value is, to know what our worth is, and to value ourselves and being able to speak up on that. So I think we have to always really take in what were the messages that I heard growing up that
Mm.
make it hard for me to ask. What am I secretly telling myself that says I'm not worthy of asking for a little bit more money because I don't know how to, or I might be nervous, or I might break out in hives while I'm asking? I'm like, do it scared. That's okay. I was sweating. Before that phone call for me asking for more money at that job that I just shared with my friend, I was on the phone with my mom practicing saying the number, literally saying the number over and over and over again in many different variations so that I could get the words out and feel as comfortable as possible. And it beeped in while I was on the phone with my mom. And I was like, Mom, okay, they're calling. I'm ready. And I
Oh, so
literally just
good.
said the number right then. So it's not always easy. I want people to know that you don't have to be the most confident person when you're delivering this message, but you do have to ask. Um, because the stats are crazy when we look at it. I think it's somebody said, and I'm not sure where this came from, and I can go fact check it too. But somebody said due to not negotiating, women end up losing out on $1 million over the length of their career.
Oh
That's
my God.
crazy. When we start thinking about that, the length of your career, right? So it's not just 1 year, but if we're all working 20, 30 plus years, that's a long time. I would love an extra $1 million, and now I'll never
Me
not
too.
negotiate.
Me too. Let's go shopping.
You
Can't
know,
like let's go
buy an
let's go
extra
shopping.
house.
Let's go get drinks together. Let's go. Let's go. You know, like you talked about New York, right? You won't
Yeah.
have to have the shortage then. No, that's so good. I appreciate you saying that and really encouraging all women, you know, younger women, mid-career women, women that may be closer to retirement. You're not done yet, right? Like get paid what you're worth towards the end of your career. Because I got to tell you, it just feels better. You know, like I don't know how your colleague felt. Maybe she was just resigned to the fact that she didn't ask. But how resentful would that person be, right? Knowing that they're doing the same job that you are and they just didn't ask, therefore they didn't get, right? It's just, it's
Mhm.
very, very unfortunate.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about the money hoarder, right? So they have that fear-based scarcity mentality. What about like, let's go back to New York City for a minute with your friends. Like you kind of had a fear of like keeping up with the Joneses, right? Like so the other side where maybe they're more avoidant. So the hoarder's like, I can't spend a cent, or I'm going to tell you I spent like $5.99 on a sweater. The other side is like they're faking it, or, you know, they're trying to keep up. What might be some of the patterns or maybe emotions underneath that person? Because it is different than the money hoarder.
Yes, I also quite literally named a chapter in Feel Good Finance, Keeping Up with the Joneses, for this
Okay.
exact conversation. Because what happens is sometimes when you're keeping up with the Joneses, you can keep up and you can afford to, but we don't always know how other people are doing it, right? And I think it's very easy to assume that somebody's doing it the right way and you're doing it the wrong way because you make up a story about how they are coming by this money when you actually really truly do not know how
Mm.
it's happening. So that was the case for me, and I'm sure is the case for a lot of people living in New York City, especially if you're young. Not necessarily knowing how people were getting their rent paid or if they had any debt or if somebody, they were making a ton of money because they were in an industry that allowed them or how they got that job. Or there are so many different caveats to our experiences that we don't always know, but we will make up these very detailed stories about somebody else's life compared to your own. And a lot of times when you do that, you are painting yourself in a negative light. So
Mm.
keeping up with the Joneses is just feeling like you don't realize what's happening for you emotionally that is driving you to want to keep spending, is driving you to feel like, hey, I don't want to feel left out. It's a lot easier to say, I'm going to spend this extra money at this dinner because I don't want to feel left out. I don't want people to think that I am not doing well financially. Again, with assigning the meaning to the money. Oh, well, if I can't afford this, it means that I'm this person. I should be able to afford this. I deserve it. And one
Mm.
thing that I say to my clients, and I put in the book as well, is that listen, human beings deserve everything. Like, I think you're here, you're human, you deserve it, but it doesn't mean you can afford it. And that's two
Mm.
different things. And we have connected them as I deserve, therefore I can just do it. I'm like, well, can you afford it? You deserve it, but can you afford it? And sometimes the answer is no. And we don't like to hear no. We don't want to even tell ourselves no.
Well, that's interesting. And I'm wondering if it's getting, so I don't have the stat here, but we had um the mortgage crisis in '08, right? Then we had COVID and everyone, it was interesting. So like we had this monstrous crisis, like lending crisis. And you'd think, 15, 16, 17 years later now, that we would learn. But, and I am in financial services, so I love talking about this. Like, I promise we will get done on time. Otherwise, I could geek out with you all day on this. So it's interesting because post COVID, um, you'd think that people, like everyone was like sitting on their couch, like watching to see like what was going to happen with the world. And then like credit card spends have like bounced big time. And so I'm just wondering if it is just also the state of our world. Like everything is instant. Like I mean, shopping on Amazon is the easiest thing I've ever, I mean, it's so awesome, but it's also super dangerous, right? Because I can get anything at my door any moment of the
Yeah.
day. And
Yeah.
so do you think that also plays into it too? Is that like the instant gratification of shopping versus before you'd have to like, we talked about your mom, like me, actually, I'm more of your mom's generation. My mom, like we'd have to go out to the store
Mhm.
versus like doing everything online. So I'm assuming this hurts us in your world of financial therapy because people can so easily keep up with the Joneses.
Yeah, and I think what is to your point, one, there's no friction between, seeing your money leave your account. You're not handing over cash. You're not even swiping. You're not seeing the number. Some people are not even scrolling and looking at like the invoice or the receipt. You're just like, ding, ding, okay, ship, like two buttons, and it's coming to your house 5 p.m. that same day.
I
So,
know.
right, there's no friction. I think that, makes it harder for us. I think the dopamine hit when you are searching for something or finding something, but underneath that, what I really want people to think about and start talking about more frequently is, why do you need it? What's happening
Mm.
for you emotionally that you are actually shopping in that moment at all? And I think that's what we don't pay enough attention to, is that usually we're trying to cope with something. We're trying to get out of a feeling that we're in. We're trying to shift our mood. We're shopping to, retail therapy, which
Mm.
has its place, right? I'm not saying don't ever shop. I'm just saying I want you to realize why you're shopping when you're doing it. Are you doing it because you were angry, or you had a hard day at work, or you feel like you're giving so much of yourself to everybody else and you make no time for yourself? So now you're going to shop and buy yourself something nice, right? It makes sense. I just want people to be more intentional of why they're spending when they're doing it. And that's where it can be easy to keep up with the Joneses. The I need this throw pillow. I need to buy this. I want my house to look like this. I want to feel this way. I want to work out more. I'm going to buy this workout set. We end up replacing a level of action for ourselves, a coping skill or strategy to help us get out of the mood with spending money.
Okay, so that's really, really good. And I'm going to give a tip that I am not a financial coach or a financial therapist. That's why, Asia, you're here, is I will tell you what I do. So when I'm feeling like sad or frustrated and I'm like navigating, and I'm a big Amazon shopper, again, some people may not like it, but I love Amazon, right? So I will say if you are an Amazon shopper, I don't know about the other services, like all the other online retailers. But the thing I love about Amazon is that you can put it in your cart and then save it for later. So what I'll do is when I'm feeling sad, I'll save it for later. And then I'm like, or if I'm like enamored by something or someone's home, like I had one recently, I visited a friend out of state and she has this beautiful home, Asia, and she's got all these beautiful candles. And I was just like, came home and all of a sudden they started moving to my Amazon cart because I wanted what she was having, right? Keeping up with my friend. And it's harmless, but it can add up. So I literally put all that stuff in the cart and like just waited for 24 to 48 hours and was like, do I really need this? And then a lot of it like ended up out of my cart because I was like, this isn't for my house, this isn't my style or whatever. So that actually really helps me.
Yeah, I love that delayed gratification, right? Just like take the minute, get out of the feeling, and then see if you still want it. And I will say this, I want everybody to know I'm not saying don't go shopping. I'm not saying never buy anything ever again. I just want you to be intentional about it. I quite literally brought something. I knew I was upset. I knew I was in my feelings, and I still was shopping. And it happens to me too. And I know why I did it. I know I was like, I know I shouldn't be doing this. I don't want to do it. So I still bought those two dresses and I have no regrets until I see them and potentially need to return them. But
But no,
I
but thank you for saying, hey, I'm human too. Like I've done it. But the thing that's interesting is you had the awareness. And you tell me, I mean, you are again my first financial therapist that's been on the line. I've never asked this of a financial coach. How long does it take to like really feel into that feeling? Because it's not as long as we think. Now, I think it could have a ripple effect where it could impact us, but isn't it pretty short for us to like be present with a feeling? It's not terribly long. Is that true?
I actually have no idea, but I would love to know what the
Okay.
timing is. However, what I will say is that it takes like less than 10 minutes for us to regulate our
Okay.
emotions depending upon how upset we are.
Okay.
So doing certain things like just changing your scenery or getting outside, taking 7 deep breaths, like what I'm asking you to do is just to literally regulate your nervous system. And that does not take a long time. So we don't realize that we're worked up and we're like shopping in a hustle, right? Like we're swiping, we're looking for something. But just taking a minute away to be like, okay, I'm going to spend like 5 minutes breathing. I'm going to listen to this meditation for 5 minutes. I'm going to go talk to a friend, regulating what's happening internally. Because you feel, are you sweating? Does your stomach feel weird? Are you getting
Totally.
a headache? Are you breathing like heavy? Are you like clenching your shoulders or your jaw? Like you can feel it in your body. So I just want people to attune to that.
Okay, so that's really good. So I'm also Asia moving. I've done a lot of I do coaching work, executive and leadership coaching for women, typically at that mid-career where they want to get to that next level and maybe they're overworking, maybe they haven't asked, things like that. But I will tell you, I am starting to get into the somatics, right? The body. So I love that we're kind of like moving here because I've learned that I can't outthink everything. Like I have to like kind of get the body on board. I just talked to a client about that last night. And I did do a search. So again, I do not know this person, but I'm going to kind of fill in the gap so we can answer you, Asia. So according to Harvard brain scientist Dr. Jill Bolt, so that's Bolte Taylor, 90 seconds is all it takes to identify an emotion and allow it to dissipate while you simply notice it.
Look at that.
Isn't that
I
cool?
love that. Real time, 90 seconds. But I think the key that I want to make sure that we underline here
Okay.
is to like think about like realize that you are in the feeling. We have a hard time labeling our feelings.
Okay.
And I think that can be hard for people because they don't actually know what's going on. An example of this is that a lot of times people are like, I'm angry. And I'm like, okay, that's okay. But like, what is underneath that? What
Mm,
is actually happening for you that is not the anger? Because anger is a very easy emotion to go to. A lot of times people feel like strong in their anger, or feel more powerful in their anger. Sometimes people, cry in their anger and they're like, oh, I'm angry, so I'm just gonna cry. But I want you to like label the feeling. I literally last night I was looking at a feelings wheel for myself to be like, what is going on with my feelings? Like, how do I feel right now? And this is my whole job. So I want people to I say this because sometimes you don't always know, and you do need to just look and see, like, oh, I'm disappointed. Oh, I am really feeling, disappointed in myself. I didn't do that one thing I wanted to do, and it could be anything. So look up a feelings wheel if sometimes you have a hard time just identifying what your emotion is. And then, like she said, sit in it. I love that.
yeah, that's pretty cool. And then you said the regulation, which is a whole other step, right? But it doesn't take. So the bottom line is if you want to go shopping, we're not telling you, you just go shopping, do whatever you want to do, but you could save yourself some money too if you just did the 90-second and the 10-minute regulation. And I love that you mentioned the feelings wheel. So just Google if you're like, what are we talking about? It is literally a circle that we call a wheel that has all of these emotions on it. So people in general, not just women, but we often will just go to like those basic emotions. I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm angry, right? But you can't say like I'm frustrated or, like more nuanced emotions, right? Like I feel lively or I feel joyful. Like there are all these like stridations in the wheel, which will give you a whole new lexicon of your feelings if you want to go there. It's really cool. And I think you can find them on Google or you could buy
Oh yeah.
them. I think it's like, I think maybe everyone should have this somewhere in their home, right? Especially with kids too, it'd be really helpful. So, so Feel Good Finance, it is available wherever books are sold. Is there anything else you want to tell us about it? And I don't want to steal the magic, right? So I want everyone to go pick it up. I see it on Amazon. I'm assuming it's everywhere else, but anything else you want to kind of sum up the book with?
If you have ever felt like you don't know why you do the things with your money, you don't know why you feel weird or uncomfortable, this book is about you getting to the bottom of that. It is about exploring yourself and understanding what your financial patterns are so that you can live a happy, healthy life and feel like you're living your best life and feel empowered. Um, for yourself, but for your money and for your family, for your community. And what I will just end on, because I know we're wrapping up, is just you're not alone. I think a lot of people feel like nobody else has ever
Hmm.
felt this way. Nobody else has ever thought this way about money. It's just me. I'm flawed. I'm all this negative things that you may tell yourself. No, you're not the only one. Somebody else is going through something very similar with the details of their life just transposed on the same thing. So, don't be lonely about it. Like that's why it's important to have community, to not be isolated, to break up that shame and have some of these conversations with people that you know and love and trust. And if my book is a great way for you to be like, hey, did you read this? Let's talk about it. That can just be the introduction to starting to have healthy communication around it.
Oh, that's so good. So, and I always quote Brene Brown, so we got to throw in some Brene Brown, right? So, like she says, for shame, the quickest way to kind of like tampen, like the shame down is by putting oxygen to it, right? Like not holding it back, like by communicating it and opening it to the world, opening it to the air, right, of the world and having those conversations. And so, I love that you say, hey, don't be lonely about it. Like, don't sit in the corner and just like kind of pile, and hold your shame in by yourself because we definitely don't want that. One other thing I wanted to mention you have on your website, I love it. So you have your freebie, Your Guide to Getting Financially Naked. And I'm like, love that title. So would that be so for our folks that may stress, like you talked about, I'm an avoider. I don't want to talk about this. Like we just talked about, don't be lonely. Would that be a good place for them to start?
Yes. And I say yes with a slight hesitancy because I want people to start thinking about kind of what are you scared about first. So back to
Okay.
labeling the feelings.
Okay.
Label the feelings first and then go fill out the form for getting financially naked because
Okay.
getting financially naked is confronting for somebody who is money avoidant. It's asking you, let's go look at your checking account. Let's go look at your savings account. Let's go through your debt. Let's look at your retirement. So I want you to understand why you haven't been looking before you just hop on to go look. And
Okay,
it's
so
okay
that's
if you
really
take it
helpful.
slow.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, so we can take it slow. And so let's say someone's like, oh no, I can't get financially naked yet. You would say, talk to a financial therapist, in their local area because they just may not be ready to get financially naked.
Yep. Or have a friend who's going to sit there and do it with you. Or financial coach can get financially naked with you, like a hundred
Okay.
percent.
Okay.
But if you want to get deeper into the feelings, you can talk to somebody like me. You can read the book, like that's going to help you.
Okay.
Definitely be helpful because it's got a lot of reflection in it. And I want people to take the time to understand themselves and get honest. So, book is self-paced, and that can be really helpful versus me telling you, like, all right, let's do it together. Because I will hold people's hand and be like, okay, open the account. Let's do it right now.
I love it. You're like, let's go. Well, I'm a coach, so I'm all like, yes,
Mm-hmm.
action, right? Exactly. It's
Mm-hmm.
so good. Yeah, because we can procrastinate when we're on our own. That's why you say don't
Right.
be lonely.
Yep.
So, what do you believe are 1 to 2 ways that women can be braver at work today?
Yeah. I want the world for women, I really do. I want the world for us. And I feel like we will not get to that place unless we start doing things when we're scared. So if you've got great ideas, um, share them, speak up, say them out loud. If people are not giving you credit for those ideas, find a way to make sure that you're like, excuse me. Do you remember that meeting? Please check the last email per se, per last
Mm.
email. Like make sure you're taking credit for your work and speaking up. And then I would say community. I think community is the answer. I think we're stronger together. So having these conversations, whatever that may look like, whatever that's like, hey, let's ask for a raise. What are you making? Or how can I help you? Or what can we do together? Or what are you learning that's really exciting and interesting? I think that is always going to bolster us. And some of the best conversations that I have had that have helped propel me forward have just been with my friends who aren't even in my industry. Uh,
Wow.
yeah, so
That's cool. That's
yeah.
really, really cool because they understand you. They know where you're coming from, like all that good stuff. They're not there to rip you down. They're there to support you, right? Wherever you are. That's what
Yep.
friends are there for, right? They're our chosen family. So, okay, well, where can women, let's do one more time, right? Feel Good Finance. I love the title, available wherever books are sold. But how can women connect with you and your work online?
Yeah. So if you are on Instagram, you can find me there at Asia E Therapy. So AJAE Therapy. Or you can come on over to my website, Asia Evans Counseling, where you can get the freebie. I have a monthly newsletter that goes out as well, kind of diving more into different strategies and things that come up for people around financial therapy. Yeah, I'm open. Email me.
All right. Well, that's awesome. Well, Asia, thank you so much. I do this topic kind of like sprinkled throughout the year, just as a reminder that being brave, of course, is speaking up. Being brave is supporting other women and building community, but building and being brave is also like really understanding what's going on with our money, right?
Oh, yes.
Because it's so, so important as a pillar to being a brave woman at work. So thank you so much for all the work that you do out there in the world for championing and helping women and for being here today. So thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
Well, that's a wrap on my discussion with Asia today. I hope you found our conversation both valuable and inspiring. As a reminder, please rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast in Apple Podcasts and Spotify. The show is also available on any other podcast platform you enjoy. Until next time, show up, feel good about your finances, and be brave.